boys. Here we go. Come on.
All right, boys, let's have some fun.
Hello and welcome to the Galbraith Report as we chat hockey and all that's been happening over the last few days and look ahead to the small matter of a Stanley Cup Final. I'm Craig Anderson, ice hockey writer based in the west of Scotland, along with former professional player Jade Galbraith, literally crossing an ocean to talk about a sport that we love. Later on, we chat with NHL.com's Director of Editorial, Shawn Roarke, who joined us from Raleigh in North Carolina to paint the picture ahead of Tuesday's Game 1 between the Hurricanes and Vegas Golden Knights. I can't wait to bring that to you. Jade, welcome again. How are you?
Good, buddy. How about yourself? We were talking before that it's nice English weather there, or British or Scottish weather there.
Yeah,
what,
get it
plus
right.
15, you were saying? Yeah.
I'm on the other side of the border. Yeah.
I'm wearing it too because it's it feels like -2. It's been raining here in Calgary. We need the rain, so it's been a little bit chilly. I love the rain, so again, I'm gonna get a fire going here soon, and then maybe some hot chocolate. Something like that, because it was plus 30 the other day, like 2 days ago. So.
It's maybe my tiny Scottish mind that it can't get over the fact it's -2 and we're at the start of June. I find that incredible.
That's Calgary and Alberta for you, man. It's nuts.
So anyway, we've got so much to talk about. As I say, Sean's going to come on a little bit later and talk about what's happening over there. It's a good chat we had with him a little bit later. But yeah, conference finals, Jade. We now know who our finalists are, the Vegas Golden Knights and the Hurricanes. We'll start with the Vegas Golden Knights. We knew it was looking that way. The Avalanche just had no answer to the Golden Knights. And what a run they've had. They're absolutely superb.
Unbelievable. Every series, like from the start to the Avs series and the conference finals, like it was a storm that was building up. You could just totally see their play, like everybody from the bottom six forwards, bottom 4D to the top. The Vegas just they had another gear. It just seemed like we talked and we thought Colorado was going to go to the finals. Again, I'll talk about what happened with them, but you can't take anything away. Colorado got beat by a better team. Now, again, we can go by personnel, Makar being hurt and all of that stuff, but one player will help. 100% of Makar is a generational talent. He can win games on his own, but to win in the playoffs, one guy's not going to do it. McDavid and Draisaitl, again, those are two generational players. They got to the final, but they didn't win. So you need a full team. You need your second or third and fourth line guys going, and I'll tell you right now, Vegas is they're a finely tuned machine right now, and they're going to give everything and something else to Carolina in the final. But again, Colorado favorites, obviously. You and me picked them to go to the final. They just did not have again, I just thought that they got outcoached. I think that is where the line was. Vegas, Tortorella, I love him. I think he's an exceptional hockey mind. I just thought Bednar, he relied on his players. And when things aren't going well, you have to in-game adapt. And that's when coaches are elite. The best coaches in the world can put a game plan in. But again, we talked about this before. If you can't change up the game plan when it's not working, and don't blame it on the players. Say, hey, maybe I should do this. Maybe I should go to 1-2-2 or 2-1-2 or change up your systems because, again, Vegas they had an answer for everything that Bednar was throwing them in. And it just looked like it was the status quo with Bednar. He just, rolled the same thing. There was no change in their game. Now, again, like we talked, coaches tell their players, hey, if we follow the game plan, we're going to win. But if the other team is outplaying you, you have to change up. You have to maybe switch lines. You have to, put other guys with different players. You have to, dump pucks in instead of trying to skate in. And when you're not, the thing about the NHL now is Carolina dumps the puck in and they get on a forecheck. Colorado likes to enter the zone with puck control. And it's great when you can do it. But if Vegas's D were stepping up at the blue lines and they were trying to stick handle through or make passes at the blue line, that's something right there that is a no-no. If you can do it, great, but that's why you dump the puck in, is because you don't want to turn it over in those areas. And I just thought Colorado, they just have an answer. Their neutral zone play was terrible. They were turning pucks over. They weren't getting the zone. They didn't dump pucks in. Vegas just owned them in the neutral zone, and I think that's where you can take a team speed away. And Colorado is fast, skilled, but if they want to stick handle through 4 guys, it's not going to work out well. So I just thought that this coaching was way better, and obviously the Vegas played better. So totally deserved it. Never would have thought it would have been a sweep, but again, once Colorado lost the 3rd game, you knew they were going to lose. So and the deciding one when they were up 3-0. I got to tell you this all the time, and I get so irritated when a team is up 3-0 and you lose in the playoffs. I just can't fathom that, man. It just, especially at that level. So, kudos to Vegas, but Colorado just laid an egg, I thought, and now it's going to be blamed on McCarr not playing, which it's not his fault. The whole team, top to bottom, just they weren't ready for Vegas.
Yeah. I mean, since we last recorded, there was just game 4 between these two teams. Mark Stone got the opening goal in 4:42, a 2-1 win in the end it was for Vegas. What got me, particularly in the third period, there seemed to be a lack of urgency in the Avalanche, and that surprised me given that there was only 1 goal between them at that point. Vegas made it 2-0, I think, a little bit later on, but they just seemed to have nothing in terms of offering any urgency, no way of trying to find a way through. I found that very frustrating for a team that, they were facing elimination. It was almost like they were resigned to it.
I saw the same thing. It looked like they were defeated. Once Vegas, and you always see this in a elimination game, is if the other team, the team that's leading the series, if they get up 1 goal, especially if you're up 3-0 in a series, like I like to think that I would still go and play, but in the back of your mind, you're like, oh God, now we have to score 2 goals. Again, it's psychologically, it's tough as a player to give that effort, right? Again, after say you tie it up, they got to score another goal, then you're just, again, it's demoralized. It just takes so much energy out of you. And Vegas, after they scored the first goal, they shut them down. They didn't give them anything. Now, you look at the shots. That's another thing we talk about all the time. Shots don't mean much. Shots in the grade A spots, 2-on-1s, power play slot shots, one-timers, stuff like that are legitimate goal-scoring opportunities. Those matter. But when you see 45-20, it doesn't really paint a picture because a lot of the shots could be from no business angles that are an easy and a momentum killer. So again, like we talk about all the time, people shouldn't look at shots all the time because it's about the grade A, it's scoring chances. It's chances that could turn into goals, not like bad angle, muffins that 1-on-4 where the goalie's going to see all the shots. So Vegas, I'll tell you right now, is playing obviously the best they've been playing all year, but goaltending up to their stars. Everybody's helping, everybody's producing. And I like that because Carolina is the exact same. They're bottom guys to top, goaltending out. These two teams really deserved it. It wasn't luck that they got to the finals.
It's funny you talk about shots. Hold that thought. We'll come to that a little bit later on when we cover the other the Eastern Conference final. On the back of what's happened, obviously, Avalanche, I think, were highly tipped to certainly at least reach the final. They won the President's Trophy, won it well, I think it's fair to say, over the regular season. So where did it go wrong for them in this series then? Why did it turn into a sweep for the Vegas Golden Knights?
Well, again, it's just from game one. Like, just on game one, Colorado, if I correct me or wrong, it's been a while ago, they got out to the first goal. I think Colorado did score the first goal, and they're jumping and flying. And Vegas, you watch them, they don't tighten their sticks. They don't change their game plan if they're down goals. They are so confident in their ability to turn the tide and score and generate offense. And again, that stems from the coaching staff to the leaders all the way down to the goalie is they never look panicked. They always looked the same. And when a team can do that, being up goals and down goals, like Carolina does the same thing, you never see that they're frustrated or anything. They just go about their business. And that I saw a lot with Colorado, or saw a lot with Vegas, that demeanor.
Yeah.
But Colorado was like a 16-year-old boy, like the highs and lows, going to school, dating a girl, she breaks up. Like, again, it's one of those things that you never knew where they were at. Like, there was no consistency in their game. Again, they're going to score, they're going to generate offense, but again, it was when they had leads, they didn't defend them. They just kept playing the same way. like I said, you have to change your game in certain situations. You can't be all offense. And that's the Stanley Cup playoffs is look at Edmonton. They're all offense. They couldn't defend. Now, Colorado can defend, don't get me wrong, but it just seemed like they couldn't in the critical times. So Vegas just had an answer for everything from Colorado. So
I've seen a lot of talk since about the future of Jared Bednar on the back of this. Again, there was high hopes for Avalanche to repeat what they did in 2022. Where does his future lie, do you think?
I think he's fired. To tell you the truth, if all the hockey people I've talked to, you never want a guy to get fired, but you can't blame it on one guy. Like you're the best team in the NHL the whole year, right? And you get swept. Not 7-game series where you gave it like that. When you get swept, like that's tough to swallow. And I guarantee that's a blown opportunity for them to win a Stanley Cup. And I like Bednar, but he has the team he has in front of him. You could throw, and again, I'm just saying this for analogy purpose. You could throw a guy on the bench from anywhere, and that team would still win games. It's to win the Stanley Cup. You have to have everything going. It is so hard to win the Stanley Cup, no matter how good your team is, as you see all the time. Teams that you think are going to win, they don't. President's Cup teams, they don't win very often. It just never happens. So
it's become a curse.
It is 100%. I just think Bednar. This is just my opinion, people. I just think that he was outcoached. I didn't see a lot of coaching on the bench. I didn't see line mix-ups, matchups. Again, the Cale Makar thing sucks for him because he's a game changer. But again, what I would do is I don't play him a regular shift. I play him on the power play. That's it. If he can't go, if you're going to play a regular shift, he's going to get hurt, all that stuff. Obviously, McKinnon, something happened with him too, which is unfortunate. But I'm telling you, man, like to get swept in that fashion, the 3-0 game was the one that really kind of shocked me. And that's something that I just can't get over is you're up 3-0 and the other team wins. Like I can't, and that's after the first period. Like it wasn't like 10 minutes into the game. Like it was after the first. You have 2 periods. And again, after that, I was just like, yeah, it's over. There's no way they're coming back. They're going to get swept. So I don't even want to talk about Colorado anymore. They again, it is what it is. Yeah. But I have to say, Vegas really showed me something. And again, every series, I like them more. Just the way their 200-foot game is, the way they're buying in, like the shot blocks and heart. What he's done is pretty amazing. The 2 goalies for both Carolina and Vegas are both Conn Smythe front runners with Stankoven and Marner. So well-deserved. You need a goalie. Bobrovsky, the last 2 years before that, man, that guy just seemed to show. So you need a goalie. No offense to Blackwood or Wedgwood. You have to have a clear number one most of the time, and none of those guys really came to the forefront. So Vegas really – again, shocked me there was a sweep, but when you watch them play, you can see that Colorado really didn't have a chance.
Right, we'll park that there just now. We'll talk a bit more about Vegas a little bit later as we look ahead to the Stanley Cup Final. On to the East now, and when we last spoke, it was 1-1 in the series between Montreal Canadiens and Carolina Hurricanes. Hurricanes won the following 3 games to win the series by 4-1. You called it. That was the prediction you gave. Montreal just ran out of gas, didn't they? I said that to you in a text message. The Canadiens just ran out of gas in the end. Hurricanes, I don't know if it was a case of they were too good. I think it's a bit of both, the fact that the Canes were good and the Canadiens were just out of gas.
Yeah. Going 2-game 7 series is really tough. And to be honest, I told you about this. We talked about this with Dobesh, the goalie for Montreal. He was making saves that you never think he played out of his skin. Like kudos to him. Like great playoffs. They needed him to get as far as they got. But on the other side of things, as I was waiting for the bubble to burst. And once they started getting more pressure, again, tired legs, turnovers was a big thing for Montreal. When you get tired, you make mistakes and you turn pucks over. Carolina doesn't turn the puck over very often. Or when they do, it's not in those critical areas, at blue lines, pucks through the middle. They lose battles along the boards, which really is where you want to lose your battles, right? The neutral zone, blue lines are huge areas where you don't want to turn pucks over, and they were dumping pucks in, getting behind Montreal's D, tilting the ice. And as you saw that We talked about it game 3, game 4. They had 5 shots in the first period and then 5 shots in 2 periods, or almost 2 periods, the one game. Now, like I said, shots don't really matter much, but if you only have 5 in 2 periods, that means that you don't have the puck.
Well, it does matter because they're not getting enough on goal.
Yeah, exactly. Again, like it is one of those things that Carolina got back to what they do. They suffocate you. They grind you down. Their puck possession, they don't worry about shooting the puck all the time. They're very particular about when they want to get pucks to the net because, like we said before, if you shoot a puck on the net and nobody's in front of the net, it's the easiest save a goalie's going to make. Plus, it's going to be a face-off. You lose your possession. If you cycle it back down, the other teams D have to be out there a little longer. They get grinded down a bit. Then mistakes are made. Guys are out of position. So I love talking about Florida Panthers because they are playing the same way. They get pucks deep. They bang and crash you. And after 4 or 5 games, the D are hurting. They're tired. Hudson, unbelievable player. He's a littler guy. They were grinding him, hitting him, finishing him all the time. And that is something that'll take a toll on a smaller D. Yeah. Look at Carolina's D. They're all over 6'1", 6'2". There's some 6'3", 6'4" guys.
Big boys.
Now, again, size really doesn't matter, but when you're hitting players and you're grinding them, a bigger guy is going to grind you down than a smaller guy, right? So Montreal didn't have a lot of size in certain areas, and Anderson and Evans, those 2 guys from the first game of the playoffs to this, they're banged up. They were beat up, and it's really hard as a forward, a big forward, to be a power forward. When you're tired, you dump in pucks that are just a step behind where you can't make contact on the D, so you're really not using your attributes. So people say tired, and players always say, "No, we weren't tired. It was no excuse." But again, they played 14 games before they even started the series, and played 8. That's again way more games. Yeah. And Carolina, their games were first series. Yeah, they had a couple overtimes, but they had a easier one against Philadelphia, so they were ready to go. And game 1, like I said, it was Montreal was riding high, blah blah blah, and Carolina wasn't ready for it, but. Believe me, Brendan Moore had him ready for game 2, and after that, it was, the full throttle. So
it's interesting, to talk about game 1. Montreal won that with 6 goals to do. You just mentioned it there, the fact they were riding high. They'd just come off that series with the Sabres, so they were still, I suppose, to a degree, fresh. Carolina had that 11-day rest, which they showed up rusty. We all saw that. But then you look at how Game 2 and Game 3 panned out. Both of those games went to overtime. And as well as I do in overtime, you better than me, you've played the game. That one chance can make all the difference. So if Montreal get a couple of chances in either of those games, suddenly the series looks a lot different. That was the fine margins. And then by Game 4 and Game 5, they were done. They were outshot. It wasn't through lack of effort. You could see the guys were really trying, but the body and the mind just wasn't there for them.
Well, again, you look at Game 2 and Game 3, like the fact that Montreal even got to overtime, I still couldn't believe it. They were outplayed so bad. The goalie, like I said, the Dobich, he played unbelievable. Like as a team, you're like, oh, we can win no matter what. Like the confidence they had, like I still couldn't believe they got to overtime those games because Montreal had no business being in them. The thing about that is, Montreal wins one of those games, it's 2-1. Like the series is totally different. So 100%. Game 2 was huge. When Carolina won Game 2 in overtime, I said to myself right there, now they're going to steamroll. I thought they were going to win 4 straight or 3 straight after that, just because Montreal to get to overtime is such a high. If they go up 2-0, that's they might win the series. But the fact that Carolina came back and they scored late to tie it up, right, to go to overtime.
That's right.
I still couldn't believe Montreal. Like it's just not luck. It's just the pucks were bouncing. So much for Montreal. You watch when they played Tampa Bay, like a new hook bounces it off the back of the goalie in Game 7. Like the moons were aligning for that team. And again, hockey gods are fickle, right? You get way too many bounces and you start winning games, you start to believe your hype. And again, I was like, the bubble's going to burst. It just has to. So gives it to you, gives you the bounces and takes them away. But Carolina, Game 2, 3 or 4 and 5, it was back to, they didn't have a chance. But Montreal, I'll say this, they will be a cup contender for the next couple of years if they may put some, I think they just got to get a little bit bigger. They got top 3D that are great. Maybe bring in another stay-at-home defenseman. Again, I like their game. They're going to be a handful in the Eastern Conference for a couple of years here if they stay the course, which I think they can.
And again, looking back, I can't help thinking Marty St. Louis will look back at this series with great disappointment. His team, as we've already talked about, were done. But overall, he'll look back on the whole experience with a positive, won't he? As you said there, there's the future's bright looking for the Montreal Canadiens right now. There's no doubt he'll look at that with a great degree of experience. Maybe not right away. It's maybe still sore and a bit raw right now. But maybe a couple of weeks' time when he does actually look at it again, that there will be so much he can build from going into next season.
Absolutely. I think Mart, he's you can tell, he knows the game. He's won Stanley Cups. I like him. He knows the game, and the players played for him. And again, unless you like a coach, you're not going to really give the effort. And you saw that they gave everything. They're just a little bit young, a little bit inexperienced. This playoffs for them is going to give them such confidence going into the preseason next year. And I'm picking them as a conference finalist again next year. I think they will legit be top 3, top 4 in the Eastern Conference in the standings. And man, again, if they stay healthy, they add a couple pieces, I think that they're going to do some damage in the years to come. I love their team. It's just a little bit young and inexperienced, and a lot of them have a lot of playoff experience. They're top guys anyway. So again, it's one of those things. They are going to be a team I could see them going to the Cup Finals in the next couple of years. They're that good.
Right, before we talk to Shawn Roarke at NHL.com, let me put one thing to you, Jade. I kind of alluded to it in an article I wrote at the weekend, looking back on that series between the Canadiens and the Hurricanes. Have the Hurricanes actually had a test yet? They swept past Ottawa Senators, they swept past Philadelphia Flyers. Canadians were done by the end of it. I think a Canadiens team maybe a little sooner in the playoff process might have been a bit more of a challenge. But have the Canes really faced a challenge so far in these playoffs?
That's a great question, because thinking about that right now is you want to say yes because you don't want to demean the teams.
No, absolutely not. No, that's the last thing I want to do.
I know what you're getting at. I know they mean it that way. I think that they are so focused on their game that they're not worried about anything else. Rod's a great coach at keeping them focused on what they need to do. That's tough to do as a coach. It's tough to get your players to believe in that and buy into that as well. And the fact that Torts and Rod are doing it the best, obviously they're in the finals, but Carolina is going to be tested 100% against Vegas game 1. If they're not a little bit nervous about it, again, you're always nervous for any game, especially the Stanley Cup Finals. But I think it's going to be a little bit of a chess game to start. Because again, like these two teams, I guarantee the video that both of these teams are doing with the team, the video coaches and going over video, they don't see a lot of holes in each other's games. Like they're 200-foot teams. You can't turn pucks over. I wanted to talk about the who's going to win the series and why I think Carolina is going to win the series is turnovers in the 4 key areas. Like there's 4 areas that are game changing for turnovers. Offensive blue line, defensive blue line, along the boards. Again, dumping pucks in, it mitigates all of that. Dumping pucks out mitigates that. When you're passing through the neutral zone, it's very easy, especially with the back pressure and how the D are stepping up. It's really hard to get speed going in the playoffs especially, right? Another place is in your D zone if you're passing through the middle, right? If you're trying to go cross ice. One bad flubbed pass or a guy reading your eyes and picking it off, that's a goal. Those are grade A spots. And finally, dumps and board work. The reason why I think Carolina's going to edge them out is they don't turn the pucks over at blue lines very often. They dump pucks in, they get behind you. They're really good along the boards, and they don't turn pucks over through the middle. They're off the glass. Rod's an old school NHLer. He played 20 years ago, even before that, where pucks out, pucks in was a coach's mantra. You got to get the puck out of your zone. You got to get a puck in their zone. And I think Carolina, the reason why people are like, well, they're ugly to watch is because they do that to a T. They get speed onto the forecheck, which means dumps are huge. People don't realize that dumping the puck is an art. If you dump the puck in, the goalie stops it, the D gets the puck, and they break it out. What the heck's the point of dumping the pucks? Soft chips and on the board side where everybody changes is where you want to put the puck, because it's one of those places that it's hard to break it out when you have everybody changing on that same side. So again, it's an art, it's taught. And then knowing your players, you don't want to dump a puck a hard rim when there's nobody over there but their team. So again, I know I'm going into detail, and a lot of people probably don't know what I'm talking about. A lot of people do, but the turnovers in those 4 areas are going to be what wins games all the time. Blue lines in the middle. If you turn the pucks over there, you're asking to be. You're just hurting for certain. And I think Carolina really protects the puck through those areas a little bit more. And their D are a little bit, and I don't want to take this away. Like Carolina's D is not very offensive, right? They're there to play defense, right? They're there to like Slavin. He's one of my favorite defensemen. The guy gets 2 goals a season, 3 goals a season, but you want him on your team, and you're going to pay him big bucks because he's the best defensive defenseman in the league. And they feed off of guys like that. Gostisbehere, guys like that too. Those kind of guys are the guys you want on your back end because they're defense first. Not saying that Vegas doesn't have those guys, but Vegas is more of an offensive, move the puck, a lot of speed. Carolina is grind you down. And again, Vegas's forwards are going to get grinded by those D like crazy. So Marner's going to get beat up. He's going to get pounded into oblivion. And I think that's going to really stymie his creativity. And not saying he's an amazing player and he's going to do his thing and he's going to get his chances, but over a series, he's going to get beaten up. Eichel never gets hit ever. I think they're going to start to get him a bit because they did those D on Carolina can really skate for big guys. So both sides, I just think Carolina is like I said, it's their time. I just think everything is the moons are aligning for them. I love their game. And not taking anything away from Vegas, I just think that Carolina's going to be too much. So that is the reasoning for that.
Delighted to say we're joined by the Director of Editorial for NHL.com, Shawn Roarke, who is in the eye of the storm, right where the action is right now. Shawn, firstly, thanks for joining us on the Galbraith Report. For the benefit of the listeners, not to make us jealous, where are you right now?
Well, first of all, I love your pun, in the eye of the storm. I am in Raleigh, which is Carolina Hurricane Central for Media Day of the Stanley Cup Final. Game 1 is tomorrow. Right now, we're in the middle of meeting with the players from both teams. Vegas is on the ice practicing. Carolina just finished a little while ago, so not a bad way to spend what is today, a Monday afternoon?
Absolutely. As I say, we are jealous. I will be honest about that.
Yeah.
So just tell us about the mood in Raleigh right now, heading into Game 1. You'll have all sorts of fans there. I dare say there's an excitement about what's going to take place.
Hey, look, Raleigh is a fantastic market, and I'm so happy they're back in the Stanley Cup Final. I was here in 2006 when they and the Edmonton Oilers went 7 games, and for a lot of people, that was Carolina's introduction into the NHL, on the big stage, and I think people were shocked by how rabid the fans are here. This is one of the loudest buildings in all of the NHL, and so is Vegas, for that fact. So this is going to be a very loud, very intense, very physical series, and that's just how I like them.
Yeah, you were telling us just before we started recording, it's Media Day. You've taken the time to talk to us after a bout of press conferences and what have you. Who was talking? What were the kind of standout lines that were coming from those conferences?
Well, we just finished with Carolina, and everybody on the team was made available, and there's a lot of talk about how dominant they've been through these playoffs, the rest they've had. I was speaking to Jordan Martinook, and he says he feels as rested as he has since probably the start of the season, right? There's not that wear and tear that you normally get when you get here and you've played 20 games. They've only played 13 games. They lost 1 game, and it was Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Final because they had been off for 12 days. So, it's a lot of, just the optimism that precedes what's going to be, I think, a very long series with a lot of ups and downs. And like I said, the Vegas Golden Knights are skating right now, and they'll talk, after we're done with this. And, it'll be interesting to kind of get their take on what might be a bit of a surprise visit, considering how favored Colorado was. But I'd just like your listeners to know that if you go back on NHL.com to the preseason predictions. Your fearless host here picked Vegas versus Carolina in the first week of October.
First week. Really, Shawn? The first week you picked that?
I did. And you know what they say? A blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while.
I have to admit, I picked Carolina to win the Stanley Cup this year. They were the conference finals the last 4 years. They've just been there, and the addition to a couple little pieces, I think, really solidified it. And again, I'm picking Carolina to beat Vegas, but again, it's in 7 games. I just think it's going to be a heck of a series. Vegas is playing the best hockey I've seen them play since they won the Cup. Their 200-foot game is unbelievable, as you have been watching as well. So, man, I can't believe you picked that though, Shawn. That's pretty crazy, man. You're
I did.
A little savant, eh?
You know what? I've been picking him now for 20, 25 years. I think this might be the second one I've gotten right. So my winning percentage isn't very good. But when you do hit, just like a bettor, you tell everybody about your wins, not about your losses.
Ain't that the truth, eh?
And of course, just talking about your own experience so far this season, Shawn, it's been quite the playoffs. Tell us about the engagement, how that's been online this year throughout the playoffs. A couple of the television networks have recorded some big figures when it comes to viewership. How's that translated online in terms of content and engagement?
Look, I think this is the best year hockey's had in a long time, and the metrics are everywhere, right? They're in TV viewership. Obviously, the Olympics helped out a ton. So many players in the final were in the Olympics, either on the winning or losing side, and that storyline continues through. For us on NHL.com, the metrics have been really robust. We've enjoyed one of our better years. Again, the storylines have just been unbelievable. These playoffs have been, as good as any I can remember in a long time. The excitement level for the game right now is probably as high as I've seen it. Look, I go all the way back. The first cup I covered was '94. It was the Rangers and Vancouver, and the Rangers won.
Messier, right? Messier's last cup.
Messier, and the excitement coming out of that was humongous. And then there was the lockout, and we took a little bit of a step back. But it's like that again. Like the momentum behind the game, between heated rivalry, between off campus, between the Olympics, between the 4 nations, all the things that have gone on from us and from outside the game. Like this is just really a magnificent moment for not only the NHL. I think for all hockey. You look at the AHL right now; they're in their conference finals, and it's fantastic. I still follow the English league. Like I think this is one of the best years they've had. When you look at what happened, what the final was like with some new blood in there, and if I'm not mistaken, they drew at a level that was almost unprecedented.
The highlights from the playoffs this year, there's been a lot to sort of digest. What would you say has been your personal highlights of the playoffs so far this year, Shawn?
Well, I've been fortunate to kick around a little bit. In the first round, I did Carolina and Ottawa, and that was a 4-game sweep, but it wasn't a blowout. Those games were really close. The first minute of the first game when Brady Tkachuk decided he was going to challenge Jordan Staal to a fight, which may not be the best idea that young man's ever had.
Yep.
But that was electric here. The double overtime when Jordan Martinook scored, and then they took it away, and then he missed the penalty shot, and then he won it in double overtime was great. In the second round, I was in Buffalo. I got to see the Blade Gang, which is just unbelievable. If people don't know, it's a bunch of kids, young men from Buffalo who arrive at the game in rollerblades, and they bring a dummy with them, and they dress it in other team's colors, and it's like slap shot in front of the building.
That's awesome.
That was awesome. And then I did the first 2 games of Vegas and Colorado, and it was unbelievable to watch Vegas come in and do what they did to the Colorado Avalanche. It was stunning, and it makes me very nervous. I also picked Carolina to win this series, but what they were able to do against a really good Colorado team that was missing its most important player, and I think you can't state enough how much that discombobulated the Avalanche. But still, you guys mentioned it. Their 200-foot game is unbelievable, as is Carolina's. I mean, this game is going to be contested all over the ice. There may be 40 shots for both teams in the games, but and that might make some people nervous. But I think it's just going to be a treat to watch. Like they're going to put their bodies on the line from goal line to goal line, and it's going to be amazing.
I do love that you talk about Vegas and the way they dismantled Colorado. Like I'm a student of the game. I love systems. I love, the thought process that coaches go through. And I have to tell you, Vegas has really, really shown me a lot. Because Carolina, they've been one of the best systematic teams I've seen in years. Like Brendan Moore has them playing the best hockey I've seen them play in 4 or 5 years, but they're all buying in, and again, I love seeing that because everybody says Carolina, they're ugly to watch, but they win, right? But I'm a guy, I'd rather win and look ugly than lose and look good, right? So again, I think it's going to be a 7-gamer, but I don't think there's going to be a lot of scoring, to tell you the truth. I think it's going to be very hard to find goals, and that's what I love. I love the goalies, Freddie Anderson and Hart, out of nowhere. Hart, when coming back, I'm really impressed with him that way too. It's probably a story you guys I've been thinking about writing as well, to come back and do what he's doing. It's pretty amazing, man, to be out of hockey that long.
Yeah, and then you think about it, he comes back and then he gets hurt and he misses 3 months. And Vegas has a cup-winning goalie on their roster in Aiden Hill, and he hasn't gotten a sniff, right? John Tortorella knew Carter Hart from Philadelphia a little bit and felt comfortable with him, puts him in near the end of the year. He wins 6 straight games, and now he's won 12 out of 16. So he's 18-4. Since he came back from his injury. That's a tidy bit of goaltending right there.
Shawn, just as we speak, as you mentioned, it is Monday. The first game isn't until tomorrow night. What will you be up to between now and when puck drops tomorrow? What's on your agenda?
Well, we still got to do Vegas and get some stories. I'm doing a blog with Jordan Martinook. He's ghostwriting it for him, which is always interesting. We do these every year. We get a player from each team to kind of talk about what's happening, in their own words, and we just kind of put it on the site almost untouched. So, and Jordan Martinook is a great talker. Dan Rosen and I, another person from NHL.com, are doing our podcast at the Rink podcast, and we're going to have Shawn Roarke and Nick Dowd on. And that should be fantastic. And then we'll get a nice team dinner tonight at the Angus Barn here, a very famous steakhouse. And then tomorrow will be morning skates, a few more stories, and then game time. And then Tuesday night, I'm going to go home and listen to my ears ring for about 3 hours.
So, Shawn, I just had one question just before we wrap it up. I just wanted to know, like, as an editor, like, when you decide on a story, like, obviously content is a big thing now with social media and all that stuff. Like, you could write about 800 stories and they'd all get picked up and read. But how do you, like, choose between a story and something that, if you have to put one over the other kind of thing? Like, how does that go about? Does it go about, like the bigger the name guy? Or, again, I've always wondered how editors kind of pick and choose what stories that they kind of will put out there for that. But again, content is a huge thing. So I imagine you guys don't really have that problem, I would think, right? It's not a newspaper.
No, it's not a newspaper, which is what I grew up in and I started in, and you had limited space, and so you had to pick the best story. I mean, we have eight writers here. Covering this. This is our biggest event. We're going to have wall-to-wall coverage. We're going to have, 8 or 9 stories coming out of Media Day alone, the podcast, the blogs, videos, the whole thing. But for us, when it comes to stories, Bill Price is my boss, and the two of us kind of set the editorial. Like, it's both things, right? You always want to write about Mitch Marner. You always want to write about Logan Stankoven, all of those players that everybody knows. Part of our mandate is to tell the story of players that you don't know, a Mark Jankowski, or a Nick Dowd, who's the first player from Alabama to play in the Stanley Cup Final and had this remarkable journey to get here. We're going to tell that story, and we hope that people read it. So it's a combination of what people are going to consume and also the best stories. Sometimes the best stories are about players that you know little about because it's all new ground, right? And look, at this point in time, part of it's access, right? Who do you get the most time with? Who are you able to connect best with? And what are chaotic situations? There's probably 150 media here, right? And everybody's at their own little pod. So you're not getting a ton of one-on-one time, so you're making the best out of what you can get. But we're going to have stories on the big players. We're going to have stories on the not so big players that everybody should know about. And then we're going to have analysis, right? But once the game starts, it's going to be all about breaking down what happened and
absolutely,
what's going to happen and everything else. To me, this is a really long 2 weeks. Flying between Carolina and Vegas is no joke. And it's going to, if it goes 7 like we all think it is, it's going to be really tiring. But it's the best 2 weeks of the year. It's as good, if not better, than the Olympics, just because I grew up on the Stanley Cup, and to me, that's the king. You might talk to some Europeans that see it the other way. I think it's switching now. Most Europeans are like, hey, it's the Cup too, but this 2 weeks is just, it's magical.
I agree with you. The Stanley Cup is. I like the Olympics. Don't get me wrong, but it's a 7-game series for me. That's playoff hockey. That's the top for me. I just love that. So
good stuff. Excellent.
Excellent.
Shawn, thank you so much for joining us. We'll let you get off. I'm sure there's other things you could be doing. Hopefully we'll get you back on once things have calmed down a bit and get a reflective eye on what we've seen, certainly in the last couple of weeks. But enjoy Raleigh, enjoy the Stanley Cup Final, and we hope to speak to you soon.
Hey guys, I'm happy to be on at any time. It's my pleasure, and enjoy the final. Like I said, it should be amazing. It should be one of the best ones we've seen in a long time.
Yeah, Shawn Roarke from NHL.com. That was good to get him. On, Jade. I must admit, I'm jealous. I said that when we spoke to him. I'm jealous. I'd love to be there right now.
Oh, who wouldn't, man? I'd be Stanley Cup Finals, like even the playoffs, just to be behind the scenes and, to feel the energy, the atmosphere, and get to watch the games for free too, like to be where they are. Like the media, if is a good job if you can get it, especially with Shawn. He's like NHL.com's the epitome of apps and whatnot, right? I'm not big on social media and all that stuff. I'm trying to get better, but I have NHL.com 100% on my phone, right, to check scores, all that stuff. It's a great app. So I still can't believe you got him on the show. It's pretty amazing that he took the time to, he was there in Carolina or in Raleigh before the game, going to interview Vegas right after our chat. So again, huge thanks to Shawn and NHL.com, and like you said, we probably get him on maybe sometime, hopefully this summer. So again, pretty amazing.
Hope so. Yep, good to have Shawn on board. But anyway, Stanley Cup Final. That's why Shawn's there, and that's what we're going to talk about now. It is Vegas against Carolina Hurricanes, of course, unless you've been living under a rock and don't know this. We talked a bit before we brought in Shawn about I put the point to you about whether the Hurricanes are actually about to face a real test in Vegas. Let's talk Vegas now. The storyline from Vegas is the fact they parachuted in John Tortorella with so many games left to go in the regular season. I think it was about 8 or 9. They're absolutely storming through the playoffs. They seem to have got better with every game. As it stands, 6 games in a row they've won. They swept past many people's favourites in the Colorado Avalanche. You've picked Hurricanes to win the playoffs. I think Vegas can actually do it, and I'll tell you why. I just think there's too many players right now who are on top form, and I include their netminder Carter Hart for that reason. I think there's so much about Vegas right now that's going for them. It could be a story in itself, Tortorella coming out of nowhere to lead this team to the Stanley Cup.
Again, I'm kind of the reason we talked about why I think Carolina is going to win. The coach and all that stuff. Another thing is home ice advantage. They have their first 2 games at home. Now, again, Vegas needs a split. They 100% need a split for the first 2 games to have a chance in the series, I think. I think they definitely, that's going to be huge. Because if they go down 0-2 to Carolina, I just don't think with Carolina having home ice advantage after that, being up 2 games, the next out of the next 6, well, obviously 3 are at or 4 would be 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, right? Yeah. So again, to be down 2-0 in a series, the stats for that is probably in the 90s, if not even higher in the Stanley Cup Finals, right? It's tough. It's a very tough mountain to climb. But you're totally right. Like every series from Dallas on to Anaheim to Colorado. Yeah,
Yep.
Again, you're right. They're getting better and better and better. Like I say, it's snowball effect, right? It's just they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's so hard. Again, I don't want to change my prediction. I think Carolina's it's their time. They're just the team right now for me. Now that could change. Nothing's certain. I think 100%. Like we said, Conn Smythe are the two goalies. So to me, third and fourth line for Vegas, if they can produce and shut down and be good, be a plus every game, or even their third and fourth lines, I think Vegas has a chance. I don't know about Hart. Again, the way he's playing, he's an unknown, but so is Freddie Anderson. Again, Freddie Anderson played for the Leafs and couldn't get them even a first-round win. So, again, they always say, every goalie says, you're only as good as the team in front of you, which I agree 100%. And Hart he's been it's the season he's had. It's pretty amazing. So, not taking anything away from Freddie Anderson, but to be injured, then he come back, and then a new coach comes in. It's just. That team has had some adversity at the end of the year, and I think they've definitely come together and said, we have a team that can go to the finals. And, they've come together like Carolina. Again, they're very similar. They're really similar. I think Vegas is a little more offensive. They take a little bit more chances. But, again, their 200-foot game has gotten better and better and better. Carolina they're just all three zones. They play 200 feet all the time, the top of the lineup to the bottom. It's just – again, I praise them so much. I just think it's their year. But Vegas, the more I think about it, like they could upset them. But really, I think it's 1A and 1B. Like they're both playing the best hockey of any teams. Obviously they're in the final, but they do this. They're doing the same things. I don't think fatigue is going to be a problem at all. Vegas has only played 3 or 4 more games than them. So They both ended their series quick. So,
but just on that, Jay, if you don't mind, just on that though, Vegas have had the break this time. They didn't play the 5th game, so they've had that extra couple of days as well. So that could factor in their favour.
100%, and it helps when you're traveling too, right? You're not at home. Like if you finish the series a little bit later than the other guys, the other guys have to have travel. So that's a big thing. Now, travel in the NHL, people always talk about this and that. Travel in the NHL is first class accommodations. Like again, you're on a jet, you can sleep, you can do whatever you want. It's not like normal people going to the airport waiting, like it's chartered jets. So when people talk about travel, as long as it's not 2 days where you travel 1 day, practice and then play. So they've probably been in Raleigh a little bit earlier once Carolina won. I bet you they were there the next day. So the fatigue factor, I don't think is going to be a big issue. They both seem to be pretty healthy, and you don't see any injuries that we know of. The media is never going to get told anything about injuries. It just never happens.
Yeah.
Like that's something that it's game time decision, stuff like that. So for the most part, I haven't heard anything, even behind the scenes. You haven't heard anything about injuries or anything like that. So I like that because there's no excuses either way. They're both coming in with their A team and at 100%. So obviously there's bruises, bumps, stuff like that. But with the medical teams and with the way the world is now, like the medicine is just it's different. It's not just an ice bag. It's IVs. It's this. It's that. It's the way they take care of their players nowadays is the turnaround is so quick. So again, I think they're going to be ready to go, and I'm excited. Like I haven't been excited for a final like this in a long time. The last 2 Stanley Cups, I figured Florida was going to win both of them, but Vegas, I don't know. I just really don't know. You're right. Every time we talk about Vegas, I think that they could do it. So a lot of my buddies are asking me, who are you going to bet on? Who are you going to bet on? So I took Carolina. I actually bet on Carolina to win in 6 because of the odds. Right. But again, Vegas, they're so close, for a reason. And those betting sites, they're pretty crazy how close they get things. It's pretty amazing. Like hockey is tough to bet on. It's a sport that it's really hard to be successful at it.
Well,
But
wait a minute. Sean said earlier he picked Vegas and Carolina from the very start of the season
I know
to
I
be in
couldn't
this
believe
final.
it.
We should have asked him for lottery numbers before
Yes, well,
we finished
freaking
with him.
rights again. That's crazy. I still can't believe that. Like we were one off, but again, the way Vegas just dismantled Colorado, like after that series, like how can they not be on equal footing against Carolina? But again, this is going to be a hell of a series. I'm excited. Like it's going to be hockey how it should be played. It's not pure offense. It's not pure defense. It's well coached. It's great players, goalies that are playing at the top of the game. I just love it. Stanley Cup Finals. I'm always excited, but this is something that I really am pumped for. So.
One thing I like to look at, especially with a series like this or a game like this, if I'm following soccer or whatever, it's the storylines. It's a media thing that's ingrained in me. I like to look at the little subplots that's going on in the background. There's a couple that stood out for me, and Dan Rosen on NHL.com, Sean's colleague, I think you mentioned Dan a little bit earlier, picked out a couple that I've had in mind. One is the goalie battle between Frederick Anderson and Carter Hart, how the two of them have played so well. And, it could very well come down to how these guys do on any night in the series coming up. John Tortorella, another one, 22 years since he last won the Stanley Cup. Coming out of nowhere, I think it says here in Dan's piece, he was working for ESPN on March the 28th. The next day, he was announced as taking over from Bruce Cassidy. But the one I liked most of all, and I saw a stat after the Canes beat the Canadians, was the fact that Rod Brind'Amour, who obviously captained the Canes back in 2006. He's been involved in 98 of 100 Canes victories in the playoffs. So that's 59 as a coach and 39 as a player, which is absolutely superb.
Oh.
So you talk about, the planets aligning. I don't know if it was you that said that or Sean said that. But, from a romantic point of view, how good would that be for 20 years on? And to have been involved with that club so much, you're talking statues if he does it. You're talking a statue erected for him. It's going to be fantastic. As I say, I think Vegas will win, but I would like to see the Canes win it for him and for everything he's done for that club. Not just winning it before as a player, but right now as the coach, the guy behind the bench, and the fact he's steadily got them closer to it in recent years as well.
Well, the thing about him is he's like he wears his heart on his sleeve. He absolutely there's not a person in Raleigh that doesn't know who Coach Brind'Amour is. There's absolutely not one person that doesn't know. He's great in the community. He's just an unbelievable person. You ask anybody, they wouldn't say a bad word about him. He played for the Flyers way back in the day too, and that Philadelphia. I talked to my uncle, who's a huge he loves Rod Brind'Amour because of the way the guy is, tough nose. Philly player, but again, the fact that there's not many guys that stay in one organization for 40 years or 30 years.
Some of that, yeah.
However many he played or whatever, it's unheard of. And to be able to win it as a player and then win it as a coach, that's a stat that we got to look up. If there's any that have ever done that have won the Stanley Cup as a coach and a player, there's not many, if any, like that. There has to be a few, I'd imagine, maybe back in the day, but a head coach to win and on the same team, to coach the same team he won with. So again, I can't say any nothing bad about Rod Brind'Amour. I just love the way everything about him, man. It's just he's really one of those guys that I really shine to. So again, that it would just be fitting. He's been the bridesmaid the last few times. Florida, Tampa Bay, those two teams were just the same thing as what Carolina is now. They were just destined to get there, and I think it's his time. I think it's their time again. Vegas just opens my eyes, but I got to stick to my guns. You can't bandwagon it now, right? So I just think it would be an unbelievable thing for Brind'Amour to win that. But not only that, the city, the players, they deserve it too. It's just a great story. You can find a story about anything Vegas and this and that, and Marner leaving and winning a cup his first year away. That's a great story too. So again, there's so many, as Sean was saying, there's so many things that you can write about, that people don't even think about. And I never knew that. I knew that he was, won a cup with Carolina, but I never thought about that side of things. He's been there forever. So again, sports are romantic for me. Playoffs are romantic. There's always something you can find in there that will make you smile and make you think that sports are special in certain ways. So again, I'm just really pumped.
Right, well, we need to cover the World Championships, but just before we do, Jay, just quickly, just recap what your prediction is. How do you think the Stanley Cup Final will go? Who's going to win it and how many games?
I think it's Carolina in 6.
Okay.
I just think with Carolina having home ice advantage, they're not going to lay an egg in game 1 like they did against Montreal. I think they're going to be ready to go. That barn, like Shawn said, that barn is a tough place to win in. It is. They've lost 1 game there all playoffs. So that is something that, like I said, Vegas needs a split. They need a split if they're going to win the series. If they can't win 1 in Carolina to start, I just don't think that they'll be able to do it. So I'll take Carolina in 6.
I'm going to say Vegas in 7. I'm going Vegas in 7. I think it really will go the distance. I think there's so much quality in these two teams, and it's going to come down to the really fine margins, I think, that's going to decide it. I just think with Vegas, who have, as I've already said, have improved all the way through the playoffs to a point now, here they are. They're on the verge of the big occasion. They've got the experience, or a lot of the players have got the experience of having won it just 3 years ago. I think that could be enough to carry them through, especially come the big moments as well. But that said, I did say Avalanche would win it, so my record is not very good.
Oh, no. Again, we'll do a pint when we see each other. Whoever wins,
Absolutely.
Gets this.
Right, so let's move on to the World Championships. They finished in Switzerland at the weekend. The winners were Finland, gold medal winners. They beat Switzerland by 1-0. A winner in overtime by Konsta Helenius of the Buffalo Sabres, scoring 10 minutes and 42 seconds into the extra period for them to take the gold medal. So big win for them in Switzerland. Switzerland, that's 3 in a row now. They've ended up as silver medalists. Very disappointing from their point of view. I don't think they've scored in either of the 3 finals as well, which
really?
makes it even more disappointing from their point of view. Then you've got Canada beaten into 4th place by Norway, and I'm sure you'll have something to say about that. We'll get to that in just a second. Yeah. But Canada were knocked out in the semi-finals by Finland. They lost by 4-2, and then that 3rd place game, the bronze medal game, losing 3-2 to Norway in overtime after scoring 2 empty net goals right at the end to tie the game up at 2-2, taking it to overtime, where Noah Steen, who plays for Örebro in Sweden, scoring the winner in the overtime period. Jade, you're going to have a rant about Canada. Go for it.
You know what? I talk about World Championships a lot. Canada, there's certain tournaments that we get amped up for, fans, players. Again, you just see, the players are taking it seriously. Obviously, they are. Once you can put the gear on, you're there. You're there to play. But again, they're there to have some fun, get away. It's been a long NHL season. There to just relax. It's Switzerland in May. So it's absolutely gorgeous. Again, they're there to play hockey. I get that, but it's not something that Canada, and people are probably going to say, "Oh, I'm off my rocker here." But again, it's you just had a long friggin' series or long playoffs for the guys that played the playoffs, like Sydney, guys like that. So again, it's hard to get jacked up for that. Again, Canada's going to always usually be in the semis, but we're not typically winners of the World Championships. It just seems like every year we get a little bit worse. Now, it's hard to get players to go after long playoffs. They want to have their break and stuff like that. Again, we get good players, don't get me wrong, but we're not putting our best team out there. And no countries are, so let's just get that out there. But again, to lose to Norway, I was actually happy for one reason. I like seeing other countries that you don't normally see start to win. That just means that hockey is getting better all the way around the world. But as a Canadian, you watch World Juniors. Obviously, the Olympics, I don't want to talk about that. We already talked about it. But World Juniors, we've taken a dive. We're not the best country in the world, and everybody says we are. We probably have the best players. I don't disagree with that, but we can't put a team together. We put 1st and 2nd rounders on a team that are all the same player. We don't. The scouting staff, the NHL teams probably tell, "Hey, I want my 1st rounder playing in this. I want to see him against." So there's a lot of politics involved in that. They don't pick the players that back a guy I played with, Dwayne Hay. played a little bit in the NHL, but he was an absolute tank beast. He hit everything, and they won the World Juniors that year. And the third and fourth line guys dumped the puck in, and they absolutely ruined the other team's D's. Like, it was just, again, it's all about skill and this and that, but you got to have your third and fourth line guys punish. You got to dump pucks, and you got to play different. It seemed like Canada in the World Juniors, now again off topic, but I'm trying to reiterate how Canada is just, we're taking the stars, we're not taking guys to win, right? We're not taking guys that are a certain situation, defenders, we're taking all stars. Now, Celebrini, Crosby, those guys, love them. You need to have those guys on the team. Celebrini the future, Crosby is the man, like he's the guy. I get that. But again, they just ask guys that that have big names and stuff like that. They're not really putting a team together that I think that is indicative of to win. Now, again, you can't get always the players that you want stuff, and it's really quick to add guys, right? The World Championships get put together like in a short amount of time. Hey, do you want to play? Yeah, sure. Oh, they got beat out. Should we ask them, a couple of the guys? Oh, yeah, they want to play. No, we don't. So again, it's really hard. The organizers for these national teams, look at the teams that are winning every time. Like Swiss is up there. Finland is always good in any international tournaments. And again, just to end off on Canada, to lose to Norway, it's not embarrassing. Norway showed through the whole tournament that they are legit. I loved watching them. Like they were something to watch. It was nice. NHL doesn't play on big ice, so it is a little bit of a different thing. It's a little bit further to the net. Speed can get kept to the outside a little bit more. It's one mistake if you're inside the dots too much. Again, it's going from NHL to that big rink is tough. It's tough to switch up that quick. Now that's probably not the reason why they lost, but again, it is a different game. So the European teams, they all play in big rinks. So most of them. So they're not switching their type of systems essentially. So again, Norway, I'm really pumped for them. I hope that they can continue. I hope this is not a one-off. But yeah, Canada, we need some help, starting with the World Juniors, starting with how we're picking teams. And again, we haven't won a gold in anything in a while. So it's something that the Canadian organizers need to stop what they're doing. We need to switch because it's not working. So.
Okay. Well, let's put it into context. You said that it wasn't an embarrassment. They've obviously earned their way there. It's actually their first ever medal at the World Championships, that bronze medal that they got. Canada without a medal now in the last 3 years. They last won it in 2023 when they defeated Germany in the final when that tournament was held in Finland. So, yeah, a fourth place finish in 2024. They didn't even get to the semi-finals last year, and out of it again this year out of the medals. So plenty of work to be done. But no, well done, Finland. Good result for them, having to really dig it out to defeat Switzerland in the final. And again, the Finns are always a team that are always there or thereabouts every year. That being said, they haven't won it since 2022. So it's been a few years for them, but they're up there again.
I watched parts of the game, the final game, and one of my favorite players, the best two-way center in the NHL, didn't play at all this year, Barkov. When you can see that he's back. Like when I was watching him, that guy, like he is so good positionally and systematically. It's so nice to watch a guy that's always in the right spots all the time. He is an absolute magician. I love his game, and he looked like he was back to being healthy, and I'm really happy to see that because I love that. He like his game. I just love that. Again, the player I was just pure offense. I wish I would have took more responsibility when I played in the D zone and been a two-way player. But watching him play, it's really something special. I'm really happy he's back and playing the way he can play, because I'll tell you, if he's back and everybody's raring to go and healthy for Florida, look out, because they're prime. They got a solid team, and I could see them going again, making a run. So I'm really happy now. Swiss, I thought Swiss were going to win it, to tell you the truth. I really did. But again, it's just Finland. They just grind you down. They're one of the best countries in the world. Like, they're top three. Canada, United States, and Finland, I think, are there, like at the men's level. The junior level, Finland, Sweden are pretty close, but the Swiss, to do this now, you said the third time in a row, third year in a row. I didn't know that. I don't watch World Championships much. I did this so we could talk about it on the podcast. I had to start to pay more attention to it. But, man, they looked really good. Norway and the Swiss, to me, when I saw how well they were doing in the standings, I was like, I got to watch these guys. Now, the Swiss, they have a great program of developing their kids. There's not a lot of imports that they bring in for their professional leagues. So that means that a lot of younger Swiss will get to play at the highest level. I love that. I think that's great for development. But you watch, like, they were like shocking at how well they did against like Finland Sweden and Czechs and Slovaks and all that stuff. Like, they really shocked me. Norway and Swiss, to me, like they were good enough to win. Like, I know the Swiss pumped Norway 6-0, but they're very similar teams, I think. Swiss and Norway, they're really speedy. They're skilled. A lot of chances off the rush, puck-moving defensemen. They really can skate well, so that helps on the big ice. But, again, the Swiss, they have a whole bunch of NHL players, and their league is a legit top-end league, and they develop really well. So not a lot of their Swiss guys go to other leagues. They like to stay there because it's such a good league. And again, why would you want to leave, right? So really, really, like, shocked me how the world, the teams are, getting better. Like, countries that you don't see, Denmark even did all right. GB had a tough go, but they'll be back. But I love seeing that Latvia doing as well as they did. So again, I like that, seeing that. That just means that more people are playing hockey. Countries are taking more, putting more money in, and more people are watching. Obviously, if people aren't watching, the money won't be there, and the development won't be there for their young kids. So you see it in GB. It's, since I played there, it's gotten like astronomically bigger. You watch it on social media, is pumping it up. I follow a whole bunch of different teams and stuff like that. I love it. I love, because they're all pro leagues and they're all different in certain ways. So it's really nice to see this. Now, as a Canadian, I don't like that Canada's losing, but I really do like that those smaller countries are showing in these big tournaments, because like, these are the best players. Like, other than the guys that are in the Stanley Cup playoffs and the guys that are injured and stuff like that, those are the best players from each country. So it's nice to see. So I was really happy to see, those last 4 games again. Really, really proud of Norway too. So again, I hate that Canada lost to them, but again, if we were to lose to anybody, I'd rather lose to them than the States. So that's all right with me.
Yeah, people understand. Just quickly on the States, so they did go out in the quarterfinals. They lost 4-0 to Canada in that last day. But as we touched upon, I think, an episode or two ago, they did take a very different team to the one that won the gold medal in the Olympics as well. A lot of names I certainly didn't recognise in their roster. But, to get to the quarterfinals is still, I suppose, decent. Yeah. Maybe not so much when you compare. They did win the World Championship last year. And again, as I mentioned, the Olympics. But no, that's the World Championships all over for another year. You know what? That's probably the good time for us to wrap it here on the Galbraith Report. Thank you so much for listening. Pleasure to have you with us on board as always. Jade, always a pleasure.
Thank you, and thanks to Shawn. Hopefully we can have him back on again at some point. And thanks, Craig.
Yeah.
You have a good night, and we'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Yeah, indeed. And thank you again, Shawn. Thank you again for listening. Catch us on social media. We've got our own social media channels now at Galbraith Report, and find us on X. We've also got a Facebook page up and running as well. Just type in the Galbraith Report, and there you should find it. We'll post up clips and whatever else we deem fit for social media as we go. But it would be great to have you on board on our social channels too. Okay, that'll do, and we will be back for the next edition. We'll be back next time. In the meantime, enjoy your week, whatever it is you get up to, and we'll talk soon. Bye for now.